Donald Trump reappeared on the campaign trail after a long absence with another deranged speech in Florida. Democrats, meanwhile, are now just fully predicting doom in November. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump and his allies have a deeply deranged plan for a far-right authoritarian government that will jail opponents, wage a full-scale war on reproductive rights, and dismantle American democracy. As we explained on Monday, it's called Project 2025. It's over 900 pages long, and it's full of radical and honestly just super weird ideas. Even if you don't read it, you can just tell from the name that it's incredibly creepy. Project 2025 sounds like the name of a government research program that accidentally creates mushroom zombies. A band of survivors should be talking about it around a campfire. It all began with Project 2025. It was supposed to provide renewable energy for all of mankind, and instead it turned Pedro Pascal into a zaddy. As we discussed on Monday, the plan's far-reaching, terrifying. Conservatives want to wage a full-scale assault on reproductive rights by, among other things, banning emergency contraception and the abortion pill, and renaming the Department of Health and Human Services the Department of Life, which is ironic, given that supporters of this plan all look like they were mummified like 500 years ago. And their candidate looks like a Madame Tussauds wax figure after it was fished out of the East River. Yeah, it got pretty waterlogged. It was a Ryan Gosling. They also want to eliminate everything from NOAA, the Federal Weather Agency, to the Department of Education. They want to weaponize the Justice Department as a tool of revenge by placing it under the direct control of the president. And they want to ban pornography and imprison anyone who produces and distributes it. So moving forward, if you want to see a porn star naked, you'll have to do it the way God intended, by having sex with one during your third marriage. Bible stuff. Now, some Republicans are actually admitting out loud just how extreme and unhinged their agenda is. Here's Missouri Senator Josh Hawley at a conservative conference on Monday.
I'm sure some will say now that I am calling America a Christian nation. And so I am. And some will say that I am advocating Christian nationalism. And so I do.
Some will say I look like a cross between American Psycho and Seattle Slew. And they right. While Hawley and others are being explicit about it, Trump and his gang know the plan is actually deeply unpopular and toxic to normal voters. So they're slyly trying to pretend they have nothing to do with it.
Donald Trump is officially trying to distance himself from Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation's far-right blueprint for a possible second Trump term.
Trump wrote, "I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who's behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them."
Our only glimmer of hope, he's the worst liar. If you want people to believe you agree that it's bad, don't then wish them luck. Also, I love when he says he knows enough about the plan to disagree with it, but also claims he has no idea who's behind it. You can just Google it, you know? Then you see the people behind it are all a bunch of cadavers who worked for you. Any of these folks look familiar? I mean, maybe it's easy to forget Ben Carson, since Ben Carson doesn't even remember Ben Carson. The guy would forget his own name if he left his driver's license in his suitcase, which, if you'll recall, has probably happened.
We just saw Mr. Trump here. I asked him, how did it go? And he said, great. And he said he learned a lot of things. What do you think he took away from today?
My luggage. Hold on.
Okay. Looks like Dr. Carson is going to try and find his luggage.
Remember that? 8 years ago, still the greatest clip in the history of politics. Oh, and like the best is he realizes he forgot his luggage. He's like, what can I say to make a cool exit? Oh, my luggage. That's the guy who wants to stage a hostile right-wing takeover of the government and dictate to you how to live your life. The guy who stopped mid-interview to go back to the carousel at baggage claim. So maybe Trump doesn't remember Ben Carson, but surely he remembers Stephen Miller. I mean, how could you forget? That's like watching the Quiet Place prequel and not immediately recognizing the monsters. Oh, are those the good guys? I can't remember. Stephen Miller's so terrifying, he's tainted anything that even looks like him. To this day, I get a chill down my spine whenever I see a wet hot dog. And don't ask how often I see one. Trump and his busload of weirdos know this stuff is unpopular. That's why they're suddenly trying to pretend they have nothing to do with it. They think they can distract voters by talking about meaningless nonsense like this instead.
I saw a clip the other day where she wants to ban plastic straws. Those paper straws suck. We don't want paper straws in America.
All right, first of all, it's not a good insult to say a straw sucks. That's like fully what they're supposed to do. That's like saying a trombone blows or a dung beetle eats. Second, why are you such babies? It's a straw. Why do you need a straw anyway? Are you that bad at drinking water?
Nothing has frustrated me more than false choices like the one the president laid out tonight.
Oh, right, you are terrible at drinking water. I forgot. Water is to Marco Rubio what luggage is to Ben Carson. Seriously, there's so much more important stuff going on. Child poverty, medical bankruptcy, hunger, inequality, climate change. And this is what you're whining about? Straws? This brings us to a segment called Seth Does the Biggest Eye Roll He Can. Here's what I have to say to Rubio. Shut the up. I forgot to stretch. And when they're not whining about paper straws, they're whining about stuff like airports, while, for some reason, dramatic music plays in the background.
We are a nation whose once revered airports are a dirty, crowded mess. You sit and wait for hours and then are notified that the plane won't leave, that they have no idea when they will, where ticket prices have tripled. They don't have the pilots to fly the planes. They don't see qualified air traffic controllers. And they just don't know what the hell they're doing.
I mean, I know it's just a weird old man whining, but that music makes it look like a trailer for an action movie about the TSA. Airports are a dirty, crowded mess. Ticket prices have tripled, and they don't have pilots to fly the planes. But from the chaos emerges the one man who can clean up Terminal B, TSA Agent Jackson. He must defeat his greatest nemesis, the man who gets all the way through security and says,
"My luggage."
Hey, Ben, can we get one more take where it's a little actionier? By the Heritage Foundation's own account, Trump advanced nearly 2/3 of the group's policy agenda in his first year in office. That's why Project 2025 is so terrifying. The entirety of the far-right establishment is committed to enacting it and filling Trump's administration with zealots and loyalists who will be hell-bent on pursuing it. And that's why Democrats desperately need the strongest possible unified effort to stop it. Instead, they all seem to be commiserating over how bad things are going for them.
Democratic lawmakers huddling for hours today behind closed doors, wrestling with whether to stick with President Biden as their party's nominee or call on him to drop out of the race.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey called for Biden to step down, saying, quote, "The stakes are too high and the threat too real to stay silent." During the meeting of Senate Democrats, Senators Michael Bennet, Sherrod Brown, and Jon Tester, all three senior, very respected senators, warned their colleagues that they don't believe Biden can beat Trump.
Donald Trump is on track, I think, to win this election and maybe win it by a landslide.
They are glum. They're basically holding a wake over on Capitol Hill. Funeral vibes was how the mood was described at an all-hands meeting.
One member described it to me as being like a funeral.
Oh my God, Democrats, get your together. There's still 4 months left to go, and you're already admitting defeat and holding a funeral? This is like a football coach giving a halftime speech that ends with, "Clear eyes, full hearts, we're gonna get crushed." Don't just mope around, do something. If you think Biden should step aside, then tell him to get out and start the process of replacing him. If you think he should stay in, then get to work and right the ship now. But this melancholy, hand-wringing, woe is me bull is so exhausting. No one cares how sad you guys are. Democracy is on the line. A pathological megalomaniac is currently leading in the polls, and if he wins, you won't be able to distract yourself by looking at porn because it will be banned. Even the softcore stuff on Instagram, that's right. They're coming for side boob. Explain that to your teenage son. Whether you think Biden should stay in and revamp his campaign or get out and make way for someone else, Democrats don't seem to be treating the situation with the urgency it requires.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And that's the way it is. Whatever he decides, we go with.
You guys are talking about him the way disappointed parents talk about a college student's major. I mean, I wish he was pre-med, but he fell in love with improv, and it's my job as a parent to say yes and. Anyone who recognizes the dangers of a second Trump term must acknowledge two things. First, Joe Biden is polling worse at this stage in the race than any Democratic presidential candidate in years, and the debate only made things worse. But second, and more important, there's still time to turn things around. In France, the left and center regrouped in just 1 week to beat back the far right in a runoff election after the far right won the first round. The point is, it's easy to spiral into doomerism and despair, but we have to take inspiration wherever we can get it. As France just proved, there's still time to regroup and beat back the far right. Democrats should take a cue from them and do the same, because as we've established on this show for quite some time now, Trump's agenda is dangerous and terrifying, or to put it another way, his ideas
suck.
This has been A Closer Look.